For my today's walk and talk, I will talk about narcissism and narcissistic personality disorder. If you want to understand narcissism, especially narcissistic personality disorder, then you can watch some movies. For instance, I would recommend that you watch Man for All Seasons. This movie has Oscar for best movie and lead actor, but the person that truly shines in this movie is Robert Shaw, who played Henrik VIII. And I think this is the best portrait of narcissistic personality disorder in its full glamour of malice. So this would be one movie. Second, and I also think this is pretty unfair that he didn't got the Oscar. I had now the other association, Glengarry Glen Ross. Alec Baldwin is also narcissistic in this role, and he should have the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. So both of these roles are very good. Then there is Glenn Close and John Malkovich in Dangerous Liaisons and so on. So let's talk about Robert Shaw, Henrik VIII. You see this charismatic, charming king who, on the other hand, has this roaring temper. And there is this splitting phenomenon. In a way, you have to walk on eggshells. He can be charming in one moment and your head in the other. There are some narcissists because they had this entitlement, but they were kind of, very interesting people, and I like them. For instance, Muhammad Ali. If you watch his early interviews, you will see this, sense of entitlement. Like he was God-given and it was his fate to be the best ever. And I think he truly believed it. We all have narcissism to some degree. And it can be covered, For instance, when someone touches this, we can say narcissistic wound, then person can lash out. This can be some parts of personality that are hidden to self, conscious, or unconscious. You can see this, for instance, when Anthony Joshua lashed out after loss to Usyk in boxing. There are some personality disorders that are very hard for a person who is ill. And there are those personality disorders that are difficult for everybody else. So in this sense, narcissistic personality disorder, especially that of Grandiose type, is definitely troublesome for people who live with narcissist, not so for narcissist himself. But there is the other kind of narcissism that would be vulnerable type. This one is like borderline fragile and higher in negative emotionality, emotions of shame, fear, fearfulness, asthenia, feeling of tiredness, and so on. So these narcissists have these thoughts about their entitlement, but they suffer because they are very hurt by feedback, critics, and comparison. So while grandiose narcissists are self-confident, vulnerable, have this, negative self-image and inconsistent self-evaluation. When we talk about narcissism in psychology, considering Big Five, that would always mean low agreeableness and high extroversion for grandiose and high neuroticism or harm avoidance for vulnerable narcissism. But since personality traits in Big Five that we use in psychology, we are trying to understand humans from normal and average to extremes, in psychiatry they try to understand humans from extremes to what is normal. Normal personality traits, even in extremes, are not good at describing personality disorders or mental disorders. So they created pathological big five. There is this dark triad, you know. So in pathological big five, this dark triad would best be described by dimension of antagonism. And there are always high correlations between sets of manipulation and deceitfulness, hostility, but also these weird thinking patterns, some recklessness, and probably detachment. And last but not least, grandiosity and attention seeking.